and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is our heroic host. Say hi, heroic host.
Hi, heroic host.
Oh, okay. Ify, thank you. You are now. You are
okay. All right,
official...
just making sure.
Yeah.
Don't want to be too presumptive.
I mean, unless the trailer was a big April Fool's joke, as far as I can tell, you are officially a host at Dropout now.
Yes, it is real. It is happening. It's very exciting. Yeah, this was a secret I've had to keep for so long, and I am so bad at keeping secrets. Like, it was a secret that was so secret that people at Dropout didn't know, and so I just assumed, okay, we all know and no one else does. So I would just bring it up in conversation when I was with other folks and they go, what? Huh? I was like, oh, yeah, that's the thing. You know, it was pretty much me, Trap, Saltzman knew, and that was about it. David, all the, Sam. It was real cool. It was real cool to, especially when we would do all the cool stuff together now where it was like Brennan, Sam and me, and it's like, oh yeah, it's the Mount Rushmore of Dropout. I'm actually Game Changer and D20. So yeah, very fun.
It's very fun. Before we dive into more of that, though, you mentioned you're moving. I am curious if the watermelon stains ever came out of your floor.
Oh, yeah, definitely. By the time I did it in the house, I've crushed watermelon enough to know, okay, you got to put a tarp under. We got to save some of it. That was actually, it didn't blow up too much, but there was like some light backlash that when I did my first watermelon thigh burst, that I just wasted it, which honestly, that was on me. I almost didn't expect to be able to do it. It was kind of a rush job because one of my friends who's over at IGN, she posted a video. Parallax Stella, she posted this video of her doing it for a stream. And I was like, and it was definitely like that meathead, like, okay, you're busting watermelon, I'm gonna bust it too. I literally was at a barbecue, which is why you can hear all my friends in the background. I see this video. We had a watermelon because it was a barbecue, and I took it selfishly and burst it right on the ground. And then kind of like the pieces on the side, we kind of salvaged, but like, the middle burst, is
a lot was lost.
Oh yeah. I know that is my favorite thing, because I try and use TikTok more and more, and the most fun is when I get to do back and forth stuff, or when when the announcement came out and I was showing all the like little hints that I was dropping, and because I was like, I have to drop hints, and the hardest thing about dropping hints is knowing folks like you exist, and I was like, it cannot be too easy. It has to be really, really subtle to the point where it's almost annoying as some of the statements on them, actually, because if it is clear, you will find it and you will be like, here is a clue. So I had to make them hard.
Yeah, look, redacted and redacted, I didn't get anywhere close to it. I still have no guesses on the second redacted, and I'm not going to try to get you to spill your secrets today. So
I know. The redacted all will be revealed soon enough, and it's funny because as secrets are revealed every day, more secrets are growing at Dropout. There's a lot of fun stuff on the way, and it's very exciting to see all of the stuff. Some stuff that I didn't even know was happening, and some stuff.
Oscar Montoya now has host of Redacted. Doesn't say at Dropout, but we all assume that that's what's happening. You started a trend.
I know. I truly hope that that just becomes a trend, and if you see somebody at Dropout and they're talking about host of Redacted, everyone's starting to be on the lookout, like what's happening.
I don't know if you've seen this. I hope that you haven't, you probably have. Um, it's the Dropout. You know how they make playlists
Oh yeah.
on like dropout.tv, music for your ears.
Mhm.
Ify Nwadiwe, reigning champion of Actually, directly underneath it, Brennan Lee Mulligan on Actually. How good does that feel?
Oh, it feels great because, and it was funny because it seems like it would be a Clue thing, but it actually wasn't. I was getting excited for the announcement, knowing that it was coming up the next day, and I was like, "Oh, let me just kind of like hop on, drop out, watch some like Actually episodes," and I just kind of wanted to see some other stuff on there. And oh yeah, I think I was watching VIP. I was watching some of the other episodes, and I scrolled and I saw the Brennan Lee Mulligan on Actually, and like I like knee jerk tweeted like, "Excuse me, like you have Brennan Lee Mulligan as a playlist on Actually, and not the reigning champion." And so I tweeted at him just jokingly, thinking nothing would happen, and then they did that playlist. I didn't realize it was right above Brennan, but also on top of it, it just kind of perfectly parlayed right into the announcement. So
Yeah.
that was just like accidentally smooth. But that alone, it was very funny to see people see that playlist and go, "Oh, I didn't know if it was on that many episodes of Actually." I was like, yeah, that was kind of my whole thing. Like I was on there quite a bit, and I remember the first time doing it way back, like in the I forget, ICS building back before
The
deep
dark times.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I feel like this was the dark time leading. This is when we were under this corporation, but they I came into this studio and I did one episode, and my first writing job was for At Midnight, and I always was like, oh, this show rocks because it's a show that, puts this kind of like fake game show competition behind just being funny and seeing comedians interact with each other. And when I did them, actually, I was like, oh, this is that, but perfectly built for me. It is a nerdy game show. And like, yes, you can win, and there is like it's more of a game than I feel like At Midnight is. I mean, because really it is just like yeah, like I'm trying to think of like how points were distributed. Like Chris would pick it, and it was kind of more subjective, where this one there's like a real answer. But I think the nerdy, like, I didn't originally, I was just like, this will be a fun show to come on and be funny, and then I started winning. And really, it was coming from the place because, I think anybody who watches it, or that one fateful day when we had the fan episode and that person came and wiped the floor with us, is that, you know, I like, I have a very specific breadth of nerd knowledge, but also I'm kind of looking for the joke more than like trying to like do it. But then in looking for the joke, I slowly started to figure out. I was like, oh, I don't necessarily have to know everything. I just have to know what's wrong, and there's an art to that too. Sometimes you'll see me just basically playing Minesweeper, but sometimes you'll see me just like be like, nope, I clocked where it's wrong, and I think, much debate with Actually fans of if that, like, the merits of that, but I think that that is very much a way to win, and that is kind of the energy that I encouraged with me taking over as host, because I think that's what makes the show, from outsiders who haven't done it before, a little more daunting. Because I think when you look at them, actually, because it does have like it's not a subjective game show, it is very much, there are answers. Some people who are more like non-nerdy comedians, or like not fully like in the space, kind of can be intimidated. So that's why I was able to like reach out to my friends like Milana, and my like deep comedy friends. I had like Janet Varney, who I've known Janet and Dante from doing Brave in the Elements, and just kind of reaching out to them and be like, hey, like, this is all about being funny. Do not worry about being like and my speech before, every recording was essentially just like, hey, this is a game show, but you don't have to know everything to win. There is a trick to kind of trying to figure out what sounds wrong. If something sounds off, call it out, because everyone might not know the answer at all. So if you can figure out what's wrong, you still get the point. However, if you don't know and you call it what's wrong, if someone does know, they can steal it, which I think that is why that is such a valid way to play, because it's like, no matter what, if I can clock what's wrong, if someone actually knows it, they can always steal it from me. Trap is always given that chance to be like, yeah, you caught what's wrong, but if anyone actually knows what's wrong, and I, of course, still continue that. So very, very fun. And I kind of wanted to lean into the like kind of like panel show aspect. I think that's one of the things that I've and sorry for just going on this huge philosophical.
No, this is great. The only problem is I have like 5 questions now that I want to ask you, but please continue the panel aspect.
And I will answer those questions. But like, when I took over the show, when the show was handed over to me, I feel like takeover is so aggressive. But when I was asked to be host, and I looked at it, they were like, hey, you could definitely, it's going to be, we want to kind of like revamp it, revitalize it, but also make it yours. And I was like, well, I don't want to change much. I was like, I feel like every change of hands in shows, it should still feel familiar, but it should have things that are exciting and new. So, if you saw in the trailer, there's the shiny stage now. So we wanted to make the game a little more active, get people up on their feet. And it's very, at first I was like, I don't, like when we were thinking of it, I was like, yeah, I agreed with the idea, but I was like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna be? And it really does. It's like still the same type of like nerdy things that I think one of the favorite things about actually is sometimes in a way it could be reverse Jeopardy, which I definitely think of like a lot of the shows I kind of was looking to when kind of generating new ideas for actually is IQ on BBC, or QI, quite interesting. And also I was also checking out like Jeopardy, just to kind of lean into, because I look at actually as reverse Jeopardy. And the reason I say reverse Jeopardy is when you watch Jeopardy, there's all these like super brainiac questions, but there's always one board that is just for the regular people. And it's like when I clocked it, because when I was doing Sandeep's show, Wizard School Dropout, which you can't see because the platform doesn't exist. It was really good. Shout out to him. But we would watch Jeopardy on lunch, and I would casually watch Jeopardy. Like I never like sat and watched start to finish, but they were really into watching the tournament of champions. And that's when I kind of started to notice the beats of the show. And I was like, oh, they always have the regular people category, and it's for regular people to feel smart because you know the answers. And then when you watch all these brainiacs, they don't know these like pop culture or like day-to-day things, you're like screaming at your TV because you get to feel like the expert. And I feel like actually is the reverse, because if it's an episode that's covering something you're nerdy about, then lots of times you are screaming. And having these physical things where there's like things you can touch and look at, and you're just like watching, I think it's just going to be a fun new watching experience. And I think there's lots of fun ways to play along.
Yeah, I mean, all of that sounds amazing. Yeah, I know, like, on watching actually is one of those things where when it's a category I know, and I'm like, I know the answer on this. Like,
yes.
They have said a thing that's wrong about Lord of the Rings, and I know it.
Yes.
Or whatever. And then there'll be things where it's like, I've never heard of the thing they're talking about. Yes. I don't even know where to start guessing about this.
Oh, yeah.
And both are so much fun. So, oh man, now I don't know where to start in my like block of questions in my head. We'll go with the easiest one.
Yeah. Let's go.
The easiest one. What is a better feeling? Beating Brennan or Kalila Harris saying, "Who is Brennan?"
It was so funny because I didn't, in the kind of like chaos of the end of um Dirty Laundry, and by that I mean me being like slightly tipsy, I totally missed that being said. So the way it blew up online and everyone being so tickled by it, it was like such a like accidental fun moment where I was just like lost in, I was just really trying to lead up to this moment that I didn't even like. When I started saying "eat my ass, Brennan," it just felt like a funny thing to do because Brennan and I were like the two dorks who were taking this so seriously, because that's the fun. And I think that is the fun of the way I think Brennan plays a lot of the games on Dropout. And for actually that just happened to be me because I just accidentally started winning and having the most wins. I didn't even know until someone pointed it out. And then that's when it just infected me. I was like, oh, well, then I have to keep this going. And it was always so close. And definitely shout out to actually.info. Still to this day, don't know who runs it. But yeah, they created us. They are, if they have credit, they deserve credit in the "eat my ass, Brennan" catchphrase, because without me knowing my score and them tracking it and I realizing just how many things it was, and it was real funny because like you know me and Brennan are homies, so like it is like that's the beauty of like taking it too seriously and like telling them to eat your ass on every show that you appear on the platform, because you're like, oh yeah, this is a great dude who I love performing with, and like we're taking it seriously, but it's not like as serious enough to as deep as the debates get sometimes, where it's like, well, the win percentage is higher. And it's like, well, in that case, you're wrong, because the win percentage is going to go to the person who appeared on one episode and won, because that's 100% win percentage. So you can't do it. The more appearances, still, if you look at hockey stats, there are people who are high ranked who played less hockey games. It's like, no, it's just wins. It's just wins. And I still currently have it. And we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to find, that's also like a sub arc within the ongoing season, is trying to find my new protege. I mean, mathematically, I should be trying to find my new protege in the people ranked under Brennan, but why, that's too boring. Let's try and find a new protege in someone brand new. Maybe Black Purist, Azim Jamo, who hopped on, who I'm real excited for everyone to see him in his goofy wizard hat, and he was a joy to have on.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a. All right, get up here. God dang. Sorry, Puar, just always. If there's a mic in front of my face, guess what? She got to be in my lap.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, Puar, one of the names on your whiteboard or a letterboard that I screenshotted so that I could reverse.
Yeah.
I could see. I was like, is there a hint?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's the name of his cats.
Yeah. That would have been so funny. I was, when you did that, I was like, oh, that's such a cool way to do a hint. I'll have to do that sometime. But I have to wait now because you've already discovered it. But that, yeah. It will be used in the future.
Yeah. You said you were on Dropout when you saw the playlist of watching some VIP. I've talked to Vic a bunch about VIP because I am wildly obsessed with it.
Yes.
How Denzel, tell me everything. What was it like? How did the prosthetics feel going on? What I mean,
it was the most ambitious outfit, I think, next to this when we're recording this next one that's going to come out tonight, which is
Tommy Shrigley.
Oh my gosh,
my Roman Empire is
wild,
his whole thing.
So wild. I cannot wait to just watch it in its completion. But I was sitting in this makeup chair for I think about 3 to 5 hours, And I had my eyes closed because they're like, hey, we're actually going to be putting stuff on your face. So we need your eyes closed so you can't see what it is. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm either some kind of like goblin or monster or, and then I was hearing them kind of like talk through the colors they're trying to do, and it was kind of like a purplish thing. So alien was in one of the things I thought I might be, but it wasn't until like I looked in that mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, this is this alien. And it's so funny because like you see yourself and it's like, all right, time to start riffing on characters, like right in that moment. And with me, I think I was just kind of flabbergasted that I kind of like wasn't able to, go as crazy as I thought I should. And eventually I was like, okay, bet I'll just do this simple, I'm trying to repopulate the earth thing. And yeah, I sit down with Vic and we're talking and they called out that I was wrong about the light from the moon, and I just leaned into it and it just worked, because it was just the perfect uh move. And it was such a interesting conversation about improv too, which is as an improv nerd, it was super fun for me because everyone was like, oh man, this was like some good no but improv. I was like, no, yes and is more of a like it's not the actual yes and, a yes and is a motivation. So, her not agreeing with this falsehood that I said, which is that the moon, that I get energy from the moon, it could have gone two ways. Either I say, y'all, humans still think that that's how the moon lights up. And then we talk about all these alien secrets and I am the expert in this. And now it's probably going to be a scene about me talking about all these things that human doesn't know. The version of which the Denzel that was on screen thought he was doing, or, acknowledging and addressing the fact that Denzel didn't know this and said something that was wrong. Uh, and that felt just more real and fun, I think. And just the like, kind of like taking a second to like let it dawn on Denzel and kind of just rolling with the punches, that just felt fun. And so then, we established that like Denzel doesn't know a lot, and that Vic, they knew they were a regular person who knows all that info.
Yeah, I very quickly, if you can hear, my son is very upset about something. I'm not sure
Oh,
what.
look, I have a child. Luckily, she's at school.
Yeah.
She was a little feeling a little under the weather. She was almost going to be here, so don't worry. We,
Hmm.
we would have had dueling tears.
It's nap time, so that is probably what's
Oh,
happening.
yeah, oh yeah. No,
Yeah,
not going
yeah,
down with a fight. We're not
yeah,
going to take it.
yeah, yeah. It was really fun when I've talked to Vic now like 4 or 5 times. It doesn't like after every episode now we talk. It doesn't. I think Vic is just so Canadian nice that they won't say no to me. So I just keep saying like, "You want to do it again?" And they
Yeah.
just keep saying yes. But yeah, I got to see Denzel early because I had reached out to Andrew and was like, "Hey, I'm going to be interviewing Vic. Could I get any episodes early so that I have more than just one to talk to them about?" And yeah, I was, because Princess Emily had aired already, and then I got to see Denzel, and I was just like, it is such a like beautiful. Like the thing that I love about talking to Vic about it is because each episode is such a like beautiful study of improv,
Yes.
of just like it's so deeply nerdy about improv of like, all right, here's the wild situation you are in,
Yeah.
find the story together. And I know like I've talked to Tamar as well about like her coming in being like, okay, so it seems like Vic and Denzel are sort of at odds. What if they moved closer together? And then the two of you kind of like launching into like, all right, well, let's end at I mean, obviously not discussed beforehand, but like, we're going to end at, let's go rent a movie from
Yeah.
Redbox together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's
It's
I know there was like fun threads because like it is yeah, it isn't too planned out, but there is like some like, okay, what if this happened? And then we kind of like pick it up and just improvise from there because it's still improv even when you get like the best example is like something like Reno 911, which was all improv, but they had an outline. They knew what needed to happen to progress the outline of the story, and then they improvised these interactions. So yeah, so there was like the moment where we were just like attitude, which and it works so good because just getting that nudge allowed us to be like, okay, we have to create a turning point, and I think it is just Vic getting exasperated and trying to exasperate it and trying to extend an olive branch, and Denzel being like, okay, yeah,
yeah, man, Tamar, a genius, I think,
oh
in
yeah,
her own right, of
oh
like
yeah,
not only like finding narrative in those improvs, but now finding narrative like in the order the shows are being released.
yeah,
Of like host Vic going through just hell with Princess Emily, Denzel, Nana, and then really like turning on the dolls to just be like such an asshole.
yeah,
Felt like so narratively satisfying.
yes,
And then obviously the falling in love with Dr. Milk. There's the stupidest show in such a high compliment.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I know it's so
Yeah,
fun, and it's really exciting for the eventual wiki that's going to come out of it that tries to piece together the lore of Vic
yeah.
as a host in this show, because there was the stepdaughter, there was
Mm-hmm.
there was the potential romance with Denzel that's up there, and now who knows what's about to happen
Yeah, yeah,
this week.
yeah. The things I know about tonight's episode
Yeah.
from talking to Tamar and Vic is it was the last episode filmed. They didn't need the set afterwards, and Zach Oyama was told that. And that at some point Vic breaks so badly they had to like stop shooting for 5 minutes because Vic couldn't get it back together.
Oh
And
wow.
I can't wait for whatever that means.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh,
I need it. I cannot
yeah,
wait. Oh,
yeah,
so good. I know. And then wow, this is a good run. Because yeah, we're gonna have this. Then you get like double Ify next week because because by the time this comes out, that's not gonna be a spoiler. But yeah, you get the actually premiere, and you the I believe it's going to be the game changer episode with me, the newlywed show, which is like me and Emily, my
oh yeah, yeah.
partner, Raf, Teo, and their partners. It's going to be a very good time. It is very funny that everyone thought that Emily was Emily Axford. It is also very funny that they do look similar, especially at recording. Now that M has dyed her hair, there's a little difference, but that does, I cannot confirm or deny if I'm just going to do a Oops All Emily's episode in the next season of Actually. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who
Stay
knows?
tuned.
Watch this space. You never know.
Yeah, you're gonna have the letterboard, and it's gonna have Emily 3 times on it and
Yes.
flipped backwards, and that's when we'll know it's happened. Yeah, oh man, it's such a good time at Dropout right now. I
Oh,
mean, every week, just fantastic new stuff. Um, I but before we get into that, though, at midnight, I know is your first
yeah.
writing credit.
Yeah.
First time, obviously, like I got to see you. I watched the show all the time, and one of the things that I really loved about that show was it introduced me to people like you and a bunch of other comics that I wouldn't have had access to being able to see. I live in Austin, Texas, so like it's not that we don't get comedians here, but like I'm not out at EUCB every week.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
I lived in LA for a couple of years, and I was there every week watching comedy.
Yeah, and don't
But
judge us by our exports. Now that
yeah,
you got the Rogan crowd coming through.
oh god, Yeah.
Well, it's. I mean,
Look.
Austin is one of my favorite cities, and I do plan to be out there soon with my buddy Armando Torres, who does stuff at Rooster Teeth. So
Mhm.
maybe we'll meet in person there. But it is like, this is a side note that may or may not, you could keep it or leave it. Uh,
Look, I don't edit anything
yeah,
out of these. I'm too
but
lazy to do
but
that.
like, yeah, like Austin was one of my. There was like a similarity in its kind of like tight knit stand up community. You know, predominantly left leaning, chill folks, and then like Rogan just exploded on that scene, and it's been at war since, because you just, those couldn't be two more
Yeah.
opposite scenes, and so they would end up on the same show. And then there's now a tweet video out of like, can you believe this happened? And I was like, I can't. I know that crowd. I know them. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And and so I think now everyone's kind of gone to the clubs that they rock at. But it was an interesting dynamic watching that happen. But I still
Yeah.
love doing
Yeah.
comedy out there, so I'll pop through.
Look, there are still some good places
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, I know his terrible place. I think it's called Mothership, whatever it
Yeah,
is. I've
where they
obviously never
scan
been,
your
but
face. Yeah, well, they have to
yeah,
scan your face. You
right.
get
And then
banned for
lock your
life.
phone away
Yeah,
because, God forbid you record one of their
I
segments
know. Nothing says
that
you're
they're
in for
doing.
good comedy that by
Yeah,
I don't want the public to see that.
yeah. Nothing says we don't believe in cancel culture here
Yeah.
more than I'm going
Uh,
to lock your phone up
y-
because I am afraid of what you will
yeah, yeah,
record of what I said.
exactly. There is a really good improv show out there if you're ever looking for one, called Slide Into the DMs Comedy, where a comedian comes and reads out one of their DMs, and then they do improv based off of it. I've guested on it out there. Look, I could talk improv with you all day. Sorry,
I am
not to
happy to.
detract,
No,
but
this is delightful.
yes, but that's kind of, I wanted to, like, I feel like there's a lot of that in actually, of having you know, some new folks you might not have noticed, but I feel like as as we were getting up there, there was a lot of regulars. And so with this season, I was like, okay, I want to kind of like split the diff. I want to have a lot of the regulars that you kind of know and love, and I want to get some like new folks you might be excited about. Like when we got Harvey, I was like, I think
Mhm.
the community is gonna flip, and I'll
Yeah,
actually send you one of the BTS videos I do have that is just how wild it was on set, that I'm just gonna wait till the episode to actually drop. But that was a real fun one, because you know, we were really trying to get like a werewolves within panel going, and then but then Jonah came and absolutely crushed, who I don't know if this has been revealed to you yet, but I feel like it's not going to be too much. But Jonah is going to be directing a lot of the Dropout specials, and he's doing the big team, my improv team's special,
Mhm.
which I'm gonna hop on and do the full promotional tour, because it's so funny, because everyone's like on the team, they're like, well, they don't have our pictures or anything, and it's my fault. Dave and Clint asked me for a promo photo of the team, and I forgot to ask everyone to send me that promo photo, and we did not post it. So I feel like they're like, why is this happening? I was like, yeah, uh-huh, Ty, for show. Yeah, so we're that's gonna be a fun show, and that's gonna be, yeah, I'm gonna be doing it on my birthday. We're gonna have some fun BTS stuff. Uh, but beyond that, yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, he's gonna be directing a couple of those. There's a lot of theories about some of the specials too, that are interesting, which I'm so excited. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
I'm excited we finally got at least like the confirmation of it is specials that are coming under the Dropout
Yeah.
Presents umbrella, because I was like, that's what it is. We're sure of it.
Well,
Just tell us that's what it
it's
is.
I know, it was so funny when I got the email. I was like, yeah, this is great, because like I already was flirting with the idea of being like, oh, if I do a comedy special, or when I do a comedy special, it might be cool to do it on Dropout. And then like they already started doing it. I was like, well, the runway is there. I was like, I kind of wanted to be the first, but you know, I guess, you know. And now we're getting,
Yeah.
I'll do it with the improv team, and it'll be super fun. But I think it'll be very interesting as we're slowly building out a TV network that you can get,
Yeah.
it's so. I think that people are finally, excuse me, people are finally starting to see the vision, uh, in a way that I think a lot of us, really didn't see. It felt. I feel like, you know, it felt like a cool SVOD thing, and I think especially back when it was part of College Humor, you're like, oh, this is like another like subscription video on demand service, and we're just making like this fun thing. And I think when I was uh, recording a thing a couple months ago, for something, they were, every hold on. Every staff meeting, the day would start was like, we're making good TV. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, we are making TV. Like, this is TV. And when you look at the space, or what used to be looked at as the SVOD space, it is like, no, it's like networks, Shutter. You have
Mhm.
like, wow, some of the networks that Sam kind of tweeted about the other day, where it's like, oh yeah, we've now gotten to a point where you can create a TV network that exists on a platform, and it is TV. And, you know, that makes it more exciting to see it grow, and just seeing that people kind of come to it and are excited about it. And it finally getting a lot of good press, Emmys talking about it. I think
Yeah.
that is the fun next goal. I think is really seeing one of the Dropout shows get an Emmy, because I think
Yeah.
I think it is a network, but I think that will be the thing that really kind of like puts that stamp on it, where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
this is we're doing stuff here. Um, as far as the network goes, I love that Sam really has his rules and tenets for what he looks for in a Dropout show. Um, and I'm just, oh boy, excited for some of the stuff that hasn't even been announced yet. And I'm excited to be a part of it, to be, at its core. Uh,
Yeah.
it- yeah, and I
And
really am grateful to, like, you know, all the Dropout fans who like really holding it down, the fan cams, because it really is like a integral part to the growth of the channel. Because you have the hard, what we're up against when we talk about going against these larger networks, or the Peacocks and the
there's, as they
Hulus.
continue to like collapse
Yeah,
down into one singular giant
yeah,
network of
network.
awfulness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that that's old money. That is TV money. They have billions of dollars in their pockets, so they're able to advertise. And because they're able to advertise, they're able to pay top dollar. And because they're able to pay top dollar, it makes it more expensive for little guys like Dropout and such. So, you know, all these fan cams, all the creating this buzz, people going crazy about Denzel and sharing it, and people being like, what is this on? And it's even when I, risk my mental health by seeing what people are saying about me on Reddit, and kind of, I found a new way to ruin my life, which is just searching not by the posts themselves, but like comments in general, and people
Mm.
seeing like a Denzel meme and being like, oh, that's Ify Nwadiwe. He's great. He's on this. The show is VIP on Dropout. It's this. And you'll see people, and it's so funny because you'll see people be like, oh, because it's Reddit. They're like, oh, this like shill speak. And it's like, no, that's someone who's a fan of something. And I think that there is there's this weird, like, you know lack of like wanting to support things with money. And I think there's a lot of valid reasons, like economically the world is kind of tough right now, in shambles. You got people getting laid off for no reason and stuff like that. But I think there's like, especially on the internet, this culture of like, if I want it, then I need to get it for free. And I think I always tell this story anytime I talk about Dropout. I don't know if I've done it on the pod, so this might be the first time I've like on a pod said this. But looking at Dropout, even when they announced Dropout back in the College Humors days, I think one of the things that they did best was just being completely openly transparent. And in that video, if you go back and watch it, it's like Sam being like, "Hey, we need money. YouTube doesn't give us enough money. This is why we're doing it." And I think that helps a lot because, I've seen a lot, I've been a part of a lot of SVOD platforms that make these like lofty promises of like, the reason you're going to pay for this is because it's so better, it's so much different than what you got on the YouTube channel. Giving us your money. That's why you're giving us the money. And it's not because you want to support us, but because it benefits you. And then you see a show on there and, you know, it may have higher production value, it may have all these bells and whistles, but the consumer is always, or the fans, are always looking at it as like, oh, I don't see why this couldn't just be on YouTube. Like why? And I think being flat out being like, it can't be on YouTube because we make no money that way. And if by asking for $5 directly from you a month, this will allow us to pay people and continue doing what you love. And I think that's what it is. I think fans, I think people who watch things, they don't want to feel like they're being like lied to or they're being like sold something they're not. When you're just straight up with them, be like, hey, the reason we're doing this is because we need this. This is going to support the company. I think it's easier for people to go like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. And no matter what you make, and you're still going to make a good product. I mean, that's hopefully the reason they're subscribed to the YouTube. But there's not a comparison of like, oh, is this actually better or worse than what we got? Is there a reason that this should be here and not on YouTube? And yeah, I it truly is fun to watch it grow.
And I mean, it certainly helps when people like you show up in a 5-year anniversary video to be like, "Hey, I got paid $500 or whatever you said
Yeah.
to be here for this singular line." And I know, like Sam has been. I think you mentioned transparent. I think also been very transparent about like goals for profit sharing and like residuals and stuff. And I know like I talked to Kevin Stiller about, like the profit sharing email that went out to everyone who worked with Dropout last year of like, hey, here's a not insignificant amount of money because we had a really great year. We appreciate you. And I know like as a fan, it feels good to be like, oh, this is what I would like my money to support.
Yeah.
Good things.
Oh, 100%. Anyone who knows me knows that I've worked with many, many, many companies, many media companies, many YouTube companies, all of the above. And I've had a great time at all these companies for the most part. Like this isn't like a dig at anyone, but um, there is like when that happened, I was like, yeah, that's never happened because sometimes you'll
Yeah.
work at a company, and you see they'll have a good year, and like everyone's kind of celebrating, and they're like, oh yeah, we did this, and you're like, oh well, I still only made like, you know, this much money. Where's that gonna go? Question mark, question mark. And lots of times, because these media companies are owned by these big corporations, it goes in the pockets of like the shareholders or like the CEOs. And that's where your good year goes. But because like Dropout is, you know, a just a company that is like very small, essentially, like it helps. Like it is wild that like I can text the CEO of the company my show is on. I can grab dinner with them. I can directly talk through things with them, and everything feels like, because sometimes you work with companies and they're like, oh, we're all we're all a family and it's a group effort, and you're like, okay, but then there's 50 million people on an email that I don't even know. Whereas like this, it's like I know who runs what and I know who I need to talk to, which is what makes it super exciting to be like, hey, here's something I think we should have done a while ago. I'm gonna take the lead on this. And we're gonna make this happen, because we're a small company. It kind of takes someone to spearhead it, much like the PAX panel that we're gonna have. That I don't think it's been announced yet, but I'll say it here. We're gonna have the first Dropout panel at PAX East, and yeah, we're gonna be
Well, let
doing.
me go ahead and open up a
Yeah.
tab to buy PAX East badge.
Yeah. So we're gonna, me, BDG, and hopefully some folks will be talking about. I'm actually getting into the nitty gritty. It'll be after a few episodes have aired, so it'll be like a fun live AMA. And I am doing an actual AMA that I do need to send a confirmation picture for. Sorry, Andrew, if you're listening.
Send your pictures in,
I know.
Ify.
Andrew, I'm sorry. But yeah, no. But I was basically like, Dropout is this kind of fun. It feels corny to call a company punk rock, especially since it has been co-opted by Republicans. But this company where it's like, it feels grassroots. And so I was like, hey, let's have a con presence. Let's not buy an expensive booth that never pays off because it's so expensive and you have to pay for tech. But let's do a panel, and it doesn't have to be, everyone, from the brand. It could just be me and BDG, and then anyone else who happens to be at the con hop on there with us, and we're just talking about like Dropout, showing like some BTS, some clips, some stuff like that, and rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm talking to Sam next week, and ready to pitch him on my very important panel idea for South by Southwest for next year.
Hell yeah.
Speaking of BDG, you said you wanted to like blow up excitement about actually. There is no one on the internet that I have ever seen that gets more specific fans excited than BDG.
Oh yeah.
I'm tangentially, like, I obviously aware of who he is. I'm not like deep in the paint on the BDG lore, but I remember the first time he showed up in a like preview for something coming up on Dropout, and people lost their minds in my comment section.
Oh yeah.
How did he come? Was it your idea to bring him on? How did he come in as fact checker?
So when I found out that I got asked to be the host, I was like the quickest yes I've ever sent. I didn't need I was like, yes. What do you mean? Yes, I was. It was so quick, and so I was like, okay, cool. So then that and Saltzman, they're like, well, Saltzman also wants to step back too, and I was like, all right. Cool. Okay. They're like, so who do you think? And I, just I was just so me and BDG first met on, I want to say we've done an actually together, but I think we first met on Dirty Laundry, and he was wearing the Gundam sneakers, and it was like, oh, this guy rocks. I'm all about him. He's like, hey, I like the cut of his jib, and we like hit it off of the show, and we really didn't talk much. And then we were at a Halloween party with Jarvis. We were at Jarvis Johnson's Halloween party, and he was there with Karen, and like M was like, I love BDG's videos. He's like, he does these really cool videos that are very interesting and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll go introduce you. And then we talked at the Halloween party, and like, just like, then it was like step 2, like really good conversation. And then we went on double dates, and we found out that they like to eat as much as we do. And then we slowly became more and more friends. So then like, by the time we did that fateful day with Sam Reich of the like, we're working on a potential something, and you see me and BDG, I was real stoked. And it just kind of, so all that lore happening, by the time they were like, hey, we need a fact checker, I said I was BDG. That's my, like, they gave they started to list people. I was like, BDG. I was like, they were like, oh, okay, but I was like, let's start with BDG. Like, don't tell me another name. Ask him. If he can't do it, then I'll hear other names. And he was like, yeah, I'm down. And so it was just, and it's so perfect because, one of the big things a lot of people know Brian for is Unraveled, which is this deep dive, which, and like, I was like, just visually, it just matches. Like, it's like, oh, the guy who did these like random deep dives being the fact checker for this show. And yeah, he was amazing when it came to writing questions. I was like more of a showrunner, and he was like the head writer. He was like in the trenches writing stuff. I wrote the weird horny games, which there's a game that when it is announced, everyone will know I wrote it. I won't tell you what it is, but when it is announced, I'm waiting. I'm excited for people to be like, "Oh, yeah, this is Ify's game." I almost didn't think we'd get to do it because it's wild. It's crazy. It's amazing, but it is an Ify written game. But yeah, and there's a couple statements I put in there. There's a couple, and that was the fun of doing it with BDG, is that a lot of our interests are the same. We both like Gundam, big robots, anime. He loves Miyazaki. I love Miyazaki. He loves the other Miyazaki, who makes Bloodborne. I, tend to try and stay away from those games, but I am going to boot up Elden Ring again because now that the DLC is coming out, and I did kind of like it, but I just didn't, find the time for it. I was like, and now I'm in Helldivers too. Look, we can talk about video. Let's not bring up video games because we'll talk about it forever. I mean,
I didn't bring them up.
Yeah, I know. You see how he blamed you for it? But yeah, there is just we and the writers too. I do want to shout out. I want to shout out our writers. We had John Gutierrez, Amy Vorpal, Danielle Ratford. Let me get a list of them because I can say all of their names appropriately. Because if I'm going to say it, I'm going to say it all right. But yeah, we had a bunch of writers on the show, and it was a dream because it was just a like the first, because I guess there was a call for writers before I got there, and we kind of picked we kind of looked at, just it was like a blind set of statements and just kind of picked from them. And one we had to just simply pull out because it was BDG, but then the other folks, we just kind of picked them, and then we just fleshed it out with some more folks, and we just had like the amount of questions we have are so many, which is why like I might have to just bring some to the panel and like have people play for fun little gifts and prizes. But we're getting ahead of myself because I need to make sure that that's approved before I even promise that. So just know, if you don't get to do that at the panel, you can blame Andrew for it. Where are
just throw some folks under the bus? That's what this is for.
Look, I'm coming in hands and arms swinging. Just
I asked you about video games. It's Andrew's fault there's no promo for your improv troupe. It's Andrew's fault there are no fun actually questions.
Definitely let them that's what I'm gonna just tell people, is like, it is look, I don't know what to tell y'all. All right. Yeah. Josh Frulinger, John Miller, obviously BDG and me, Amy Vorpal, we had John Gutierrez, and they're all also in the credits. So that's where you'll see it. But I just wanted to, since I was shouting them out, I wanted to shout out everyone in this segment so that I don't leave anyone hanging. But
it's one of my favorite things that happens. I mean, it often happens in the adventuring parties, but like a list of folks comes out and they're like, we're going to thank everyone who like did behind the scenes like work on this. I love that about Dropout, that commitment to like, hey, there are important people who you're not going to see their faces and the show doesn't exist without them.
Oh yeah, no, that's the beauty of it, is all that, just really making sure that everyone kind of get their due, and they're really just on top of making sure that folks are kind of just you well compensated and well credited, and it is like
Mhm.
a team that makes these things happen, and it really is truly truly nice to see. And I think it's one of those things where, like, I compare the experience to when I wrote for a show on NBC called Grand Crew. My buddy Phil Augusta Jackson, great writer, great musical artist all around. I want to shout him out fully, but he went through the writer system. He came from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was in the room for Insecure. I think he was one of the head writers in that room, or high ranking writers. But before that, he was doing all these, like, Survivor's Remorse. So he's spent years in the writer's room system. So by the time that he was, like, running his own show, he knew of all the kind of, like, things that kind of suck about being a writer sometimes, random late nights that just cause you to be without being announced and all this stuff. So he, like, put things in place to make it run smoothly and avoid that. So he was like, hey, we're going to set aside a certain amount of writers for late night. I will always let you know the week of. You will know when you have late night. And if you did the last one, then you don't do the next one. And we alternate that way. And he was like, and we're always going to be done by this time. Or, like, sometimes if he was like, hey, it looks like we're not really creatively kind of, like, getting anything here. We're just going to keep circling and circling and going later, but we're not. We might as well call it here. Think about this. Here's some homework. Come in with pitches. And I think that is one of the things that made that room so well oiled and efficient, because it wasn't just unnecessary, creative labor. It was all just very much zeroed in and on point. And that came from someone kind of going through that system and kind of seeing what he felt didn't work, and taking that and doing what did and fixing what didn't. And I feel like that is kind of a lot of what Dropout's doing. They've a lot, Sam has been a part of College Humor for a long time. Before that, he knows what it was like working with a corporate overlord. He is doing everything he can to make sure he doesn't do any of that. And I think that's what makes working at Dropout so fun and great.
Yeah. Fills my heart with joy whenever I do these interviews, because folks like you, everyone always just has, like, the most wonderful things to say about. Not usually it's a, like, we don't love corporations.
Yes.
Corporations are not our friend, but the
Yes.
people involved at the top are good. And it's like, oh, thank God, I've built my entire personality around Dropout.
Yeah.
I need this to not be bad.
I know. Yeah, it is very funny, but it's like, yeah, it is doing everything it can to not be a bad corporation, and I think that is in all the choices it makes, and that is all the like calculated risks, because I think the moment, and we've seen this even outside of just, like, corporations themselves, but just in Hollywood in general, right? It's like when you add, you know, like, a third party that is only interested in, like, making money, then you take all licensing, like, all the license for freedom and creativity away. You get, like, and, like, I say this as someone who, I have the nerd show. I love a Marvel movie just as much as the next person, but we didn't need to have it on an annual basis. And that happened because these movies that started off small and grew into something big, as soon as they started, making these, like, record breaking, box office numbers, they, instead of being like, oh, this is a cool unprecedented thing that should be rewarded and celebrated, they're like, let's see if we can make this happen as much as possible and get these people money. And we're just going to now make this very formulaic and try and repeat what made this happen. And I think that we've seen that even outside of movies, in video games, when you got, when they found out that the microtransactions in FIFA and Madden and NBA 2K brought billions of dollars in, then they became formulaic, and now annually they barely improve the game, but they hope to make the same amount of money, because they're more interested in making money. And what that means is that they are interested in giving the people who create less so that they can get more. And that math just never works. As much as they want to believe it does, it just never works, because eventually there will be, hopefully, new avenues for people who are creative and talented to make more money for themselves that doesn't just go to some faceless group of people who put no effort in that labor. So I think that is the move, is keeping it indie, keeping it like low overhead, and keeping it personal, I am but a host on this network for this company. So I cannot, for sure do this, but I also can still call and text my CEO at any moment. So I think that until that changes, I'm pretty confident in this company.
And what a beautiful note to end on. Ify, this has been the most delightful hour. Thank you so much for joining me. There is simply no way that anyone who knows me doesn't already follow you on the internet. But if someone somehow doesn't know where to find you, where can they find you?
Ify Nwadiwe on Twitter and Instagram, Real Ify on TikTok, because I know the TikTok brand is strong for you. If you're just checking any of those,
yes.
If you're checking any of those places out, you'll know what I'm up to. I'm definitely keep it going. But yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. It was so lovely getting to talk to you face to face.
Starts so soon.
Yeah,
this was amazing.
Yes.
And I'll see you at PAX East, I guess.
Pull up. It'll be a good time.
Yes. I am so excited. This was amazing. Thank you so much. I've never figured out how to end an interview, so I'm just going to hit stop recording.
All right. Goodbye.
The end.